Stop making assumptions about your genetics before you've even put in the work. Forget about the SARMs and the testosterone. Get out there, train hard, eat properly, stick to natural supplements, do it consistently for several years, and see where you can go with it. What's up guys, Sean Nalawani, RealScienceAthletics.com, and in this video today I'm going to be reacting to a recent video from Greg Doucette titled Best Supplements for Ectomorphs. Now, supplements can be a tricky topic because while there are a select few supplements out there that genuinely can help you out with your fitness program, the vast majority of supplements, probably like 90 to 95% plus, are really just straight up ineffective. And as flashy and aggressive as all the supplement marketing out there can get, with all these different YouTubers and fitness influencers trying to shove a million different products down your throat, most of what's out there really is just a waste of money. And so you really need to do the proper research first. And this is an area that I've put a very substantial amount of time into researching over the course of many years, and I own a supplement line as well and have pretty good insight into how the industry works, so this is a subject that I can definitely help out with. And there's an even broader point that I wanted to address in this video. Okay, this goes beyond just supplements, but also into the whole idea of giving recommendations based on somebody being an ectomorph. So I'd highly suggest that everybody watch this video just for the supplement information, but if you're naturally thin and you consider yourself to be a hard gainer, then I think that you should especially watch this. So, which parts of Greg's video do I agree with and which parts do I disagree with? Let's go over it.
Coach Greg, and today we're going to be going over the best supplements that ectomorphs can take. So what exactly is an ectomorph? An ectomorph is one of the three general body types or somatotypes that people can be. Ectomorphs tend to be thinner and have a harder time putting on muscle. If this is you, these are the best supplements that you should take.
So first off, keep in mind that the whole somatotype theory in general is a pretty outdated approach that just isn't really of much practical use. It was actually created by a psychologist named William Sheldon back in the 1940s, where he was trying to draw connections between people's body type and their behavioral traits. Obviously, there are people out there who are naturally skinny who have a harder time gaining muscle and who do fit the traditional ectomorph profile. But ultimately, body types operate on a spectrum, which Greg does mention in the video, and even within people who might have a similar body shape where you might look at them and think, that's an ectomorph, that's a mesomorph, and that's an endomorph, there's still going to be a lot of variation there in terms of each person's specific muscle building capabilities, their leanness, their body fat distribution, training tolerance. So being a particular somatotype doesn't really tell us much, if anything, in terms of how that person should specifically choose their supplements or their training program or their diet. It really just comes down to the individual in terms of their current body composition, how they respond to training and nutrition, and what their specific fitness goals are. But let's go ahead and dive into the actual supplement list here.
Number 1, creatine. By adding creatine to your supplement list, you might be able to perform an extra rep at the end of your set. If it allows you to train harder than last time, it's going to allow you to get more gains.
So no argument there. Creatine is no doubt the most effective natural supplement for muscle building purposes. There's tons of research supporting it going back several decades, and if your goal is to maximize training performance and maximize muscle growth, then it's definitely worth including in your program for that small extra boost that it can give. Unless you are a creatine non-responder who doesn't get any benefit from it, which is true for a certain percentage of people. So just take 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day. There's no need to buy into any of these more expensive advanced creatine forms that some of these so-called supplement experts try to sell you for 8 times the cost of regular monohydrate. You can mix your creatine monohydrate with anything you want. You can take it at any time of day, and there's no need to creatine load or to creatine cycle or anything fancy like that.
Number 2, THC. That's good old marijuana or weed. Yeah, that's right, it made the list. If you take marijuana edibles, it can help you sleep during the night, and when you sleep, you can recover and grow muscle.
So just to be clear, I have nothing whatsoever against THC consumption in general, whether you want to smoke it, vape it, eat it, take it rectally, or whatever you want. Okay, when I was in high school, I consumed THC in moderation on and off like a lot of teenagers do, and I'd say that all things equal, if your training and your diet is otherwise on point, I don't think THC is going to negatively affect your gains. So if you're already a THC user as is and you enjoy it and you get some sort of benefit from it, then that's fine. But if you're currently not a THC user, I wouldn't recommend that you go out of your way to start using it as some kind of bodybuilding supplement, thinking that it's going to improve your gains. So the first reason that Greg gives is that it will help you sleep better, which will then improve your recovery. And yeah, sleep is obviously very important for a wide variety of reasons, for body composition purposes, overall health, functioning, training performance. But there's actually a decent amount of research showing that even though THC might help you fall asleep faster, it actually can reduce your overall sleep quality because it interferes with REM sleep. Now, there is some mixed research on that, and probably there is some individual variation as well, but that's just something to keep in mind because it very well might actually make your sleep worse.
Not only that, if you're someone who has a hard time getting food down, THC has been shown to give you the munchies a little, make you eat more, and with more food, you can get bigger.
So yeah, THC does have an appetite stimulating effect for most people, but again, I would say that it's just kind of an extreme recommendation for something very simple like this. You know, if you're having trouble getting in all the calories you need for the day, you don't need to go and get high and alter your whole mental state just so that you can eat more. All you really need to do is adjust your diet slightly by increasing your consumption of high calorie dense foods. Okay, when you're trying to lose fat, you want to focus on low calorie dense foods, and when you're trying to gain weight, if you can't get in enough calories, then you want to focus on high calorie dense foods. And the easiest way to do that is just by upping your fat intake, since fats have twice the calorie density of protein and carbs. I mean, if you literally just add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to a meal, which isn't much at all, that's 120 extra calories right there. So you can consume healthy oils, nuts, nut butters, avocado, coconut milk, or you can just make a homemade high calorie shake. You can easily make an 800 to 1200 calorie shake with just a few basic ingredients. Start with some milk. Coconut milk is even better because it's really calorie dense. Add some protein powder, some oats, banana, peanut butter, maybe a bit of frozen yogurt or even some ice cream. And you can even mix in some healthy oil on top of that as well, and you won't even taste it. I used to do this all the time. I'd make just a big ass homemade weight gainer shake, and I'd add olive oil and flaxseed oil on top of it. And it tasted great and was really easy to get down after my solid food meals. But bottom line here is that you don't need a big calorie surplus to gain muscle in the first place. A couple hundred calories above maintenance is going to be enough for most people, and that's pretty easy to hit for most people as well. And if you're still having issues reaching that amount, just add some high calorie dense foods into the mix. You don't need THC for this.
BETA-ALANINE. This can increase your exercise capacity, in particular for strenuous bouts of up to a minute.
BETA-ALANINE doesn't improve performance for exercises lasting up to 1 minute, so it's not 0 to 60 seconds where you're getting the benefit. BETA-ALANINE improves your performance for exercises that last at least 1 minute, and then it starts assisting you beyond that point. And that's an important distinction because for most people, most of their sets are not going to be lasting for more than 60 seconds. And even if they do, BETA-ALANINE still only gives you a couple % boost at best. So I definitely wouldn't categorize BETA-ALANINE as a best supplement for gaining muscle, because unless you're training in really high rep ranges, then from a muscle building standpoint, it's not really going to help you at all.
As it buffers lactic acid. You can go harder than last time. You could sprint further on your bike. You might get an extra rep.
Small point, but just to be pedantic, BETA-ALANINE technically doesn't buffer lactic acid. It actually buffers hydrogen ions, which is a bit different. But in any case, what I would say is that if you're a competitive athlete where a small 1 to 2% increase in performance is worth it for you, then BETA-ALANINE supplementation could make sense. If you're doing a lot of intensive cardio, then it might help there as well. Or if you do regularly train in high rep ranges on sets lasting more than 60 seconds, then that's also fine. But for the average lifter out there who's training in standard hypertrophy rep ranges, I would say that BETA-ALANINE probably isn't going to do much for you, if anything. I have recommended it in the past as a sort of second tier supplement, and I still think it's okay to use just as long as you're aware of the fact that it's pretty borderline stuff, but I don't use it personally, and I don't include it as an ingredient in any of our Real Science athletic supplements, because I think that for the general population, it's really just not worth it. All right, now moving on to Greg's next 2 supplements on the list. I'm going to group these 2 together because I have the same general thing to say about it. The first one is
MK677. It has been shown to increase hunger, stimulate your appetite, and increase the rate and the speed of muscle growth. It can increase IGF-1 levels in the body, and so consider it to be kind of like an oral growth hormone.
And the second one is
testosterone. If you're an ectomorph, don't expect that you're going to be able to get jacked and huge. Just by taking a bunch of natural supplements, testosterone is going to dramatically help build muscle at an accelerated rate.
Now, I'm fully aware of the fact that it's not Greg's intention to broadly recommend this stuff to his audience. He said before in past videos that he thinks that most people should probably stay natural, to do your own research, to talk to a doctor. He does put disclaimers in this video as well.
But remember, testosterone isn't safe. There's a lot of negative things that can happen if you take it. So be careful, research harder than last time, and only use it with the advice of a doctor.
So I don't think for 1 second that he thinks that anybody who's an ectomorph should just hop on SARMs and testosterone. So let's make that clear. But the one thing that I did want to comment on is just going back to the whole ectomorph thing in general, because the way the video kind of comes across to me, and I think the way that a lot of newbie lifters out there might take it, it's kind of like, if you're an ectomorph and you want to get jacked, then you're basically screwed since your genetics are crap, and this is kind of the route that you're going to have to go down if you want to get really impressive results.
Without testosterone, chances of getting huge, very small. This is for ectomorphs. Not telling you you should use it, just saying it would clearly help a lot if you did.
Now, yeah, no question whatsoever, genetics do play a big role in the muscle building process. I've talked about that many times before. And yeah, some people out there genuinely are going to have a harder time putting on muscle, and they're going to have less total muscle building potential. And if you do have below average genetics and you want to get truly huge and jacked, then in the long term, PEDs might be required to do that, depending on what your definition of huge and jacked is. But at the same time, I just want to hammer home the point that in most cases, as a beginner, you don't really know what your genetics are until you've actually put in the work over a consistent, extended period of time. You know, there's a lot of guys out there who are going to see a video like this and they're going to think, well, I'm naturally skinny, so that means I'm an ectomorph, I'm a hard gainer, so basically I'm fucked unless I start using gear.
Your genetics suck. You chose the wrong parent. Sorry to break it to you.
And there's nothing that irks me more than all these young guys nowadays who get into lifting and they're just jumping straight onto PEDs like it's nothing without seeing where they can take their body naturally first and without paying their dues. And I'm sure Greg would ultimately agree with this. So if you want to use PEDs at some point down the line, that's completely up to you. But if you are going to do it, max out your natural potential first, okay? Put in at least 5 solid years of natural lifting minimum to see where you can take your body and to see how you feel about things once you've put that muscle on, because your perspective might change at that point. And taking PEDs, especially something like testosterone, that's a very serious body altering decision. It's not something to just do on a whim or on impulse because you want fast results and you've decided that you're doomed from the start because of your genetics. Because if you're naturally skinny now and you think that you're an ectomorph, you might still be able to build a very solid natural physique. Okay? There's no set definition for what an ectomorph is in the first place, and just because you're starting out with less baseline muscle mass, that doesn't mean that you won't still respond decently well to training. I started training pretty young, but if you asked me when I first started what I thought my genetics were for bodybuilding, I would have thought that they were shit. You know, I was naturally thin, I had small wrists, tiny ankles, visible ribs, my clavicles were kind of poking out. You know, I really thought I was an ectomorph, I thought I was a hard gainer, and my initial goal was just to be an average size. I wasn't even trying to get big, I was just aiming to not be skinny. So here's me at 13 years old. This is the best picture that I have from that time before I started training. But then here I am just before turning 16. So this was 2.5 years of training and I wasn't even using any supplements at all here besides protein powder. So it turned out that I actually have pretty good genetics for bodybuilding. You know, I'm not the biggest guy around, but I was able to put on muscle fairly well, and my overall structural genetics in terms of muscle shape and muscle insertions, that all turned out to be pretty good. And that might not be the case for you, but it also might be. So if you're still a novice, then forget this stupid ectomorph hard gainer label. Stop making assumptions about your genetics before you've even put in the work. Forget about the SARMs and the testosterone. Get out there, train hard, eat properly, stick to natural supplements, do it consistently for several years and see where you can go with it. Because again, even if you're naturally thin right now, you might still be able to gain muscle just fine, even if you don't think that that's the case.
Number 6, protein bars. You want to have protein 4 to 5 times a day because every time you eat protein, it allows you an opportunity to have muscle protein synthesis to occur.
So sure, protein bars or protein powder, either one is fine. Not gonna have any special, unique muscle building benefits, but it's just a way to help you get in more protein for the day in a convenient form. Now, Greg recommends 4 to 5 individual protein feedings per day. And yeah, if you want 100% absolute maximum hypertrophy, then that recommendation would make sense. But also keep in mind that this whole thing operates on a pretty steep diminishing returns curve as well as far as protein feedings per day. So as long as you're getting enough total protein for the day as a whole, that's the most important thing by far. And then if you're splitting that up into at least 3 individual feedings, then you're probably very close to being maxed out at that point already. But if you do want that last few possible percent of gains, then yeah, you can increase to the 4 to 5 feedings per day, and protein supplements can definitely help you out with that.
Pre-workout. I know you're thinking, no, you got to avoid those stims because it decreases your appetite and you got to stay off the stims. It's not the case. Don't abuse them. Don't overdo it. But pre-workout is going to help you train harder than last time.
So last on the list here is pre-workout, which I would say is not a mandatory supplement, but it's something that you can use as an optional add-on if your goal is to fully maximize your workout performance and if you enjoy the extra physical and mental kick that a properly formulated pre-workout can give you. Now, this is an area where you need to choose very carefully because a very high percentage of popular pre-workouts out there really just don't make the cut. Okay, they usually include a bunch of ingredients that aren't backed by good research, and they're just kind of randomly mashed together in low doses that really won't do much of anything for you beyond the caffeine that's there. So don't just take things at face value because the marketing seems convincing. Do your research first. And if you do want to check out Pure Form, which is our Real Science Athletics pre-workout formulated by me using what I think is the optimal combination of ingredients in their proper doses without any excessive stimulants, and also 100% naturally sweetened and flavored for those who do prefer the natural options, then you can visit realscienceathletics.com by clicking up here or by using the link in the description box below. And once you're there, you can also check out our Microcore multivitamin and our O3 Prime fish oil. I think those are both staple options in a well-rounded supplement plan. The multivitamin and the fish oil will help to fully optimize your nutritional intake for the day, fill in any potential missing holes in your diet, and provide higher amounts of certain important micronutrients that are especially key for hard training lifters. And you can also use discount code YouTube15, which will take 15% off your entire first order. So thanks for watching the video, guys. According to the YouTube algorithm, these are the next 2 videos that you should watch. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. Follow me over on Instagram for more daily tips, and I will see you in the next one.